Hi everybody, I thought I'd share with you the latest instalments in my 700 size radio controlled Airwolf build. This video is just detailing how I am turning the stock rather nasty gear into something a little bit more scale-like and a little bit more engineered. I don't have the benefit of any real machine workshop tools, lathes, milling machines, so this is all done with hand tools and a bit of elbow grease. So I picked up a 700 size scale fuselage. I think it's the first generation Vario Airwolf that they did, not the carbon fibre one. It's a composite shell, and I'm going to put a 700 size Align mechanics in there, Dominator, in time. But I'm just looking at these stock gear. They are retractable. They're designed to go back up into the sponsons. These came with it. You've got a hard molded plastic tire which doesn't give at all. Someone sprayed a bit of paint on here, but it's basically white hard plastic. They do articulate fairly decent pressure through a nasty looking coil spring in the middle, and generally they're a bit naff, so I didn't really want to use them, and I looked around to try and find something else that would work, but because the shape of the fuselage being what it is and the space requirements, you've really got to have something that shape and that size, otherwise it doesn't retract back into the fuselage properly. So I thought, how can I make this look more like the real thing and work better? And I took it apart, and what we basically have is a series of plastic bits. This is it, basically disassembled. And I started with the wheel. I was looking for something a bit more scale-like, so I found on Hobby King these quite nice looking jet alloy hubs with a nice proper rubber treaded wheel, about the same size as the stock ones, so I thought we'll start with that. And then I thought I didn't really want that nasty spring. It's got quite a lot of pressure in it, but it looks horrible. The real thing would have had some sort of spring dampener in there, so I went searching on the internet and I found these little scale spring dampeners for radio controlled buggies. So I thought, yep, that might work around there, so we'll have one of them. And then I had to look for a way of trying to attach the bearings for the shock to the frame without doing too much damage to the frame itself. And what I've done is I've hollowed out part of the bearing down here to take a rod that goes through to link onto there, and then I've built a bit of an alloy frame around the top, pinned it on to take the top bearing, and this gives us a nice, fairly scale-like suspension in the wheel, and generally looks much better when it's all painted up. When it's got some brake housings on there, it'll look absolutely fine. So I thought I'll just assemble this one just so you can see what I've done. I had to make some minor adjustments to the plastic housing to take the bracket. I'm going to try and put this together now. Might make a complete and utter mess of it, but we'll see. So first of all, take that. Wheel goes on there. It'll have a little ferrule in the middle there to stop that play, but just for this purposes, that goes on like that. That goes together like that. Little screw in the top. And this is part of a much bigger project to create this 700 size Airwolf. I'll be doing some other videos in time, detailing the retractable guns and the rocket pod on the bottom. I'll require some 3D printing. So there we've got the wheel with the dampener in there. Probably should have put that through there first. You always forget one thing. Okay, tighten that all up again. So I know some people on the forums have special gear made on lathes and milling machines. I unfortunately don't have the benefit of that, so we have to improvise a bit. So that bracket just goes on the top, hollowed out 2 sections there for it to key into on the leg. Slide that in. 1 pin in the top. These have little spring clips on them to hold them into place. And this one here, which should, if you can see that, go through the top of the suspension. And there we have it. One articulated wheel from one rather looking NAF wheel. So 2 down, 1 to go. But it just goes to show what you can make. Don't have to accept the sort of stock stuff. With a little bit of time and a little bit of thought, you can make something look fairly decent.